The Marvel Cinematic Universe is an achievement. It had 5 movies to introduce us to individual superheroes, and finally we got to see them all come together in the Avengers. In 6 movies, the MCU managed to make Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor household names. Now, imagine you had to achieve what 6 movies did with a single movie. Enter James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. It is tough to be a groundbreaking film these days. You don't really see films that truly push the medium forward as much as the sci-fi classics like Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, George Lucas's Star Wars, and Robert Zemeckis' Back to the Future. The best you can do is find a gap and address it. So when you look at the common superhero boom of the decade and mix it with the very recent up-and-coming 80s nostalgia trend propelled by Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive, and pull it off seamlessly, it is truly as close as you get to being groundbreaking. For reference, Stranger Things, which is pretty much the peak and point of no return of the 80s nostalgia cycle, will not come out until 2 years after Guardians of the Galaxy. Gunn managed to make an insanely fun film with actual themes and style. He made entirely unknown characters: Star-Lord, Drax, Gamora, Groot, Rocket the Raccoon, household names, in a single movie. It is a spectacular accomplishment. While Guardians of the Galaxy can never be a next-level art house film like Bong Joon-ho's Parasite or Robert Eggers' masterpiece The Lighthouse, it is Disney after all. However, Gunn does manage to thread genuine themes and real characters into a space superhero movie. These characters we follow, the Guardians, they don't really have distinct superpowers, and they aren't villains or anti-heroes. Peter Quill, in a single moment, fails to comfort his mother as she dies, and that mistake is forever. It informs the rest of Peter's life. Gamora is a killer from a family of abuse and violence. Rocket is a lab experiment outcast, angry at the world. Drax is drowned in grief of the death of his family and filled with a thirst for vengeance. And Groot is a hulking monster who is entirely innocent and kind. There doesn't need to be scenes like Groot giving a flower to a child in this film, or Gamora almost dancing, yet Gunn finds the time to include them. Nebula essentially is a one-note cheesy villain, and yet we still get subtle scenes of reluctance and regret. Same can be said for Yondu. These characters are not good or bad. They're a bit of both. They are distinctly human, and the core of it is the Guardians accepting each other regardless of their flaws and past. They will keep making mistakes, and that's okay, because they found each other, and together they can make the decision to be something bigger than just their selfish selves. They can guard the galaxy. I'll risk an opinion here. Sure, it's a superhero big budget blockbuster. Yet, I contend that this factor amplifies the film. This movie will reach a larger audience because of it. More people will get to experience James Gunn's style, jokes, and how music can be thematically used in film.
I think that in filmmaking, music is just a vastly underrated part of the puzzle.
Most importantly, they will get to feel the characters. Ultimately, the movie has heart, and I couldn't be more thrilled for that. The nature of blockbuster movies have inherent limitations and restrictions, and yet The script and filmmaking managed to all but negate these. This is as good as it gets. In late 2014, I stayed home from school. As I was sick and with nothing else to do, I decided to put on Guardians of the Galaxy with very little expectations. About 10 minutes into the movie, my mum, who worked night shifts, woke up and came out to the living room. I asked if she wanted to watch the movie with me, so I rewound the movie back to the beginning, and on some random, insignificant day in the spring of 2014, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy with my mum. And it's one of my favorite fleeting memories I have from my childhood.
At the center of Guardians of the Galaxy, it is about a story of a son's love for his mother and a mother's love for her son. It's a mother-son story at the center of it all.
We loved the music and the jokes and the emotion that was given to these characters. The feeling I got was one of elegant childhood glee. The same thing I'd felt when watching the original Star Wars trilogy for the first time.
That wasn't necessarily the same as the movies that I grew up loving, like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Empire Strikes Back, but that gave people the same sort of feelings that those movies gave to me.
And the everlasting impression it leaves on you. What I'm trying to say is James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy films are the closest we'll ever get to a Star Wars of my generation. And that is amazing. That an indie grunge unknown filmmaker could be allowed to make something this big with so much creativity and heart.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe.